So the title of my podcast is called Conscious Conversations, where we talk about mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional health. The topic today that I wanted to talk to you about is a topic that I know you've really navigated and studied and supported others with, which is the topic of illness. And illness really, although incredibly painful, how it can be a gateway to really healing, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well.
Yeah.
So we are here at Mountains of Hope, which is a transformational detox and wellness center here in Medellin, Colombia, my favorite place on planet Earth. Tell us a little bit about Mountains of Hope,
Okay.
what it is, who are the people that come here, and then we'll get into the deeper why.
Yeah. So Mountains of Hope is a very unique wellness resort, probably the most unique one in the world because, one, we're located 7,000 feet in the Andes Mountains, and you've seen the beautiful nature here. It's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And because we're so close to the equator, we have the same weather every day, the same temperature. It's 55 to 75 degrees every day. So the weather is profound, the nature is profound, the beauty's profound. But I also believe that it's a blue zone, even though it's not on the water. But more importantly, for me, because we're made of atoms, we're electromagnetic beings, and it's an electromagnetic world. The energy here, the electrical energy here that gets discharged is breathtaking. And on top of that, the Colombian people are so loving.
The best.
So the nature and the love that our staff gives to our clients is a huge step in the right direction to begin the healing.
Yeah.
So when we get a physical illness, 90-something% of the time is related to some emotional wound. And then because of the emotional pain in our heart, we flee to our mind. And we start living here in a mind, which I believe is an insane asylum if it's not guarded and protected. So what we try to do is nudge people gently out of their head back into their heart. And from here is their real source. This is our soul. This is our connection to source. And when we start living from here, we can use this supercomputer to manifest what we truly like.
Yeah.
Now, on top of all that, and our philosophy is simple, that something in your environment got you ill, sick, caused a disease. And so we've created an unbelievable healing environment. Now, we would never say that we cure people because we believe that healing is an inside job between you and your creator, right? All we've done is created a beautiful environment for all that to take place. Yeah. Now, on top of everything I mentioned, again, we're a medically licensed facility. We have 3 wonderful doctors. We have wonderful nurses. We have hyperbaric chamber. We have IVs. We have massage. We have colonics. And then in our wellness circuit, we have things like PEMF, pulse electromagnetic frequency device pads that you can lay on to move the blood throughout the body better, to detox better. We have red light therapy. We have salt therapy. We have exercise with oxygen therapy. We have these, we have 4 shift wave chairs. There's $10,000 chairs, so $40,000 worth of chairs. That's zero gravity. But they have these plates that vibrate and move your lymph system while you're using eye shades and headphones. It's put you in a meditative state.
Yeah.
And a lot of them focus on breath work. So you're doing breath work, but these plates are moving the lymph system. And that's the biggest drainage in the system, the pathway for detox, right?
Yeah.
So it's moving that. But I also believe it's moving the cerebral spinal fluid, which is the most important fluid in our body, because that's the fluid that protects the brain from the skull and the spinal cord from the vertebrae. And it's so important that it replenishes itself every 4 hours. That's how important it is to the body. So, and then on top of all that, we have ceremonies where we have a sweat lodge ceremony that we build here. We have a monastery where we do cacao for people that request it or feel called to do it. We can arrange for ayahuasca or psilocybin. We have a fire forgiveness ceremony. So we're using Western medicine, Eastern medicine via meditation and acupuncture and things like that, and then indigenous medicine, which is the original medicine. So,
it sure is.
So that's just a little bit about Mountains of Hope.
Yeah, it's been amazing to be here. I've tried so many of the modalities, but yeah, I really love how there's that combination of all of the things. That's really what Conscious Concierge is, right? Yeah. It's the Eastern, it's the Western, it's the ancestral, the indigenous, and helping people, connect with which one really is most helpful for them at this time in their life. And, I also just on the subject of how this can be such a portal to healing, I feel like I really want people to understand that if we let illness be, it can become our greatest teacher.
Yeah, so that's interesting. I know my wife was diagnosed at the age of 29 with stage 3 breast cancer, and she always said that the cancer woke her up.
Mm,
And after she passed, I started a nonprofit foundation working with hundreds of women that were below the poverty line that were battling cancer. Almost every single one said the same thing. We have a
yeah.
guest here right now
Mhm.
dealing with cancer in his throat and his tonsils.
Yeah.
Said the same thing, So cancer is a wake-up call. Any illness is a wake-up call. But once we have that wake-up call, what are we going to do with it? And how
Yeah.
do we treat it? And how do we come out the other side bigger, better, more fulfilled, healed, with a new purpose in life? So
Yeah.
that's what Mountains of Hope tries to assist in.
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's really felt here for sure. I love the conversations that I've been having with the different guests and like what they're experiencing. And you can tell for some people, it's their first time like really thinking like this. And
Yeah.
for other people, they're like super on the wavelength. They understand that this is like all part of
Right.
a bigger experience. But on the subject of you just getting into your late wife, do you want to share with us the inspiration for Mountains of Hope and how it came to be?
Yeah. Well, the truth of the matter is my late wife, Margo, she loved me when I didn't love myself. She taught me what love was. And if she said it once, she said it 1,000 times. She said, Mike, you need to learn to become vulnerable.
Mm,
And I didn't have a clue what she was talking about. And I really didn't become vulnerable till the day she died.
wow.
And it was in that devastated state and that vulnerability, I feel as if God was able to come in, fillet open my heart, remove the arrogance, the self-centeredness, the bullshit, and replace it with love. And shortly, just a few weeks after that experience, I met another 38-year-old woman with stage 4 breast cancer, had 3 children, but she didn't have good insurance. She didn't have resources. She didn't have her husband. She didn't have maybe perhaps the same personality as Margo. So she asked me to help her. And so I took her to Margo's oncologist because she didn't have one. And he ordered some tests, and I went with her, maybe 5 or 6 times for this procedure, that test, so on and so forth. So we spent a lot of time together. And what I noticed was that they treated her differently. They either would talk down to her or talk over her head, and she would get lost and confused what the treatment was. And so, but I was no place to say anything. So I just observed it and kept my mouth shut. Then we went back to Margo's oncologist, and he said, Amanda, the best protocol to extend your life are 3 chemotherapies simultaneously. Unfortunately, your insurance can only give you 1, and so that's all we can give you. And that blew my mind. I didn't know the world worked like that.
Yeah.
And so I just immediately said, here's my credit card. You give her whatever it is she
Wow.
needs. And that became the Love for Margo Foundation. And the Love for Margo Foundation's mandate was to provide financial assistance to women below the poverty line while they battle cancer. So I would sit with these women, and the
Wow.
stories were horrendous. Nika, 35 years old, stage 1 breast cancer, never should have died. But her backstory, her mother sold her for sex from age 8 to 14 so she could buy crack cocaine. Another woman, mid-40s, 11 children. She walked into my office where she used to have a breast. She now had a melon-sized tumor.
Wow.
We were with her right before Christmas and gave her children gifts. We brought Santa Claus. And she died 2 days later and after Christmas. And the first person that the husband called was us to say, thank you so much for what you did for my family. So I could tell you story after story. I remember one time I'm sitting in a Wendy's restaurant in Southern California. And when I would work down there, I had to have translators because the women were undocumented Mexicans that had breast cancer. And this woman became so distraught. She's there with her husband and her daughter, who was the translator, and literally pulls up her tube top in Wendy's restaurant to show me 2 freshly scars where they'd a double mastectomy. And so I could go on and on. A 25-year-old girl that was pregnant, and by law you have to have a pap smear, and it comes back positive for cervical cancer, but they miss it. So while her entire pregnancy, the baby was growing, the tumor was growing, but they couldn't see it because they couldn't x-ray because of the baby. And so she had the most horrendous pregnancy and died 3 or 4 months at 25 after giving birth. So I saw hundreds of these cases, and it was that Margo broke my heart and changed my destiny. But these women were the inspiration to create Mountains of Hope. And many times, many of them would say, I wish we could go natural treatment as opposed to the chemotherapy, the radiation, the surgery. And so that was part of my motivation to create this place. And the ultimate motivation is once we're profitable, that we will give financial grants to these women. Or my other passion is these military vets that have come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, 24 a day committing suicide. So they could come down here, they could do a psilocybin experience, they could have an ayahuasca experience, they could detox. God knows how many vaccines they've had, how many heavy metals are in their body. And so they could get, and the other thing that's powerful that we do here is we grow 75 different fruits and vegetables with no chemicals in mineral rich soil. Everybody
So
in America,
important.
so important. Everybody in America is dehydrated and they're under mineralized. And that's why illness is exploding. They don't get enough sunshine. They don't ground to Mother Earth. They eat junk food. They eat processed food. And believe me, we are what we eat.
Yeah.
We are what we think.
Yeah.
We are what we feel. And if we can manage that, and we're not any of that. We're not our body. We're not our thoughts. We are the commander of the ship. And we're energy. We're formless. Okay. We have a soul. And so when we can start managing all those aspects of our life, healing must take place. The body wants to be in homeostasis all the time, but toxicity overwhelms the immune system. Then inflammation begins, and inflammation leads to disease. So we try to address all this stuff at Mountains of Hope. We have wonderful doctors, and we also have wonderful testing here. We do brain mapping, we do epigenetic testing, we do energy testing, we do InBody, which measures your visceral fat and your BMI and all that. So testing is a big part of it. With meditation, yoga, breath work, all those kind of things.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a little bit last night. And this is kind of one of my favorite questions to ask people. Like, what do you really feel is the cause of illness? Do you feel it is, for some people, the toxins we're exposed to? Or do you feel it's more the emotional trauma, or a combination of both? Like, what have you seen?
It's definitely a combination of both. And the one of the problems is, we overload the body with toxicity and it becomes weak. And when we become weak, our spirit becomes weak. So our discipline becomes weak, right? And for most of us, we end up living in our head. So I'm driving down the road, I hear a song that reminds me of a bad event in my life, and I have a negative thought. So that the mind doesn't differentiate between imagination and reality. If I think it believes it, right? And so I'm having this negative thought, which releases negative chemicals from my pituitary gland into my body. Now I feel bad. So nobody wants to feel bad. So how do I change my state? Well, I reach for a beer. I reach for go gambling. I reach for promiscuity. I reach for shopping. I reach for smoking. And so we've lost control of where we are because of the programming. And most of us had terrible childhood programming. And until we get into the subconscious mind and fix that, we're because 95% of our life is spent in the subconscious. And so once I can heal the subconscious and install my programming, what I want, not what my parents wanted, not what society wanted, not what television wanted, not what my teachers wanted, what I truly desire, and I can install that programming into my subconscious. Now, guess what? That's the law of attraction. And then I feel as if I'm that person or that experience. I start vibrating at that frequency, and I attract the same kind of frequency to me. That's all that's going on in this world. The illusion is the physicality of this world. It's really just all energy. But because of this, whoever created this 3D reality, which is based on duality. And you can't have good without bad. You can't have hot without cold. You can't have black without white. So you can't have good without evil. And so we're not taught this stuff as kids. We're scared to believe stuff so they can control us. But once we understand this, and what I find here too, the people that heal take ownership of their life. They realize they're a powerful creator. The people that don't remain a victim. And the same story, no matter what we do, they just keep playing the story. And you're not going to heal. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, if you want to change your personal reality, you have to change your personality. What's your personality? Your personality is what you do and what you think and how you act. So once we start changing that, things change.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. People get stuck, in a rut. And I've been there. Okay. And when I'm in America, I'm stuck in a rut. I'm eating processed food. I'm drinking too much beer. I'm not working out. And it's hard to change in that environment that I've created. The beautiful thing coming to something like Mountains of Hope, the environment gets changed.
Yeah.
Everything gets flipped. The people get changed. The education, the feeling, everything starts to switch. And as we take the toxicity out of the body and we put in good nutrition, the emotions start to arise, and we can start to deal with those.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I believe it's a combination. When I'm meeting with somebody for a consultation, I'm always trying to evaluate, like, where are they at on that journey? Like, have they done detoxes and gotten rid of the toxins? Have they gone through the emotional trauma in the past? And that, or is their environment making them sick? And it's like, there's really no one size fits all, but it's a similar theme of, like, where are they at on that journey, and like, what have they explored in that realm so far?
Yeah, and everybody's dealing with some emotional wounds, and then we got to go in there and we got to heal those, and then we can start living from our heart again, and be full and complete.
Yeah.
When you're just in your head, you're not full and complete. When you're not in your body, you're not full and complete. And so we need to integrate the body, mind, heart, and soul, so it's all integrated as one, and tap into this energy right here. There's a fountain of energy right here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's all energy. I mean, these cell phones prove it, that this energy, this transmission is taking place. And we're made of atoms, which are 99.999% space. So all that energy is going through us. So we have to balance our life against that too, especially with this 5G and all this other stuff.
Yeah. And I think there's really something to be said about coming out of the environment, particularly the country. I know when I first came here, it was like opened my eyes to everything. And, there's a lot of places I can send people in the States, but I always tell somebody, whether it's ayahuasca or whether it's something like this, like a detox center, leaving the environment and being in another country and the energy here and the land here, it's so conducive to healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd love to hear some stories, or maybe a story about someone that came here. Do you have any stories of people that came with and got really healed and went into remission, things like that?
Yeah, I think it's probably been about 9 months. We had a gentleman here from Florida. He had a very, very rare blood cancer, a very rare lymphoma, very aggressive. When he showed up, his blood platelets were 7, and they're supposed to be at 12. Our doctors here were very, very concerned and suggested that he get a blood transfusion, and he refused that. He said, "I'll make it." He was here 8 weeks, and so we have a partnership with the National University of Colombia, and they've been growing what's called natural killer cells for 7 years. Now, what are natural killer cells? They're part of our immune system. We have T cells, we have white blood cells, and we have natural killer cells. So when a patient first arrives, we take a bunch of their blood. We give it to the scientists at the National University of Colombia, and they have an oncologist there. And they start growing these natural killer cells for 3 weeks. And during that 3 weeks, they yield 400% more. So while what Mountains of Hope is doing during those 3 weeks is we're detoxifying the body and giving it great nourishment. So 3 weeks later, into a highly detoxed body, fully nourished body, we put in 400% more natural killer cells, their own natural killer cells, which is their immune system. And it just goes in there and starts gobbling this up. So when Robert left here, I think it was his blood platelets were 11.5 or something like that. And he got home in Florida, a month or so later, they were 12.5. So between the detox and natural killer cells, we made a lot of inroads against this aggressive cancer.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. So for the natural killer cells, for anyone who doesn't know, is it not approved in the States? Is it in the process?
Yeah, I haven't found a place that's growing them.
Okay.
There's a lot of clinical trials going on with them. There's a lot of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think primarily probably what they do in the States is try to activate more of your natural killer cells in your immune system, and perhaps call that immunotherapy. I'm not 100% sure. But I've only found one other place that does what we do. And just from I'm not a doctor, but from a common sense standpoint, for someone who's been dealing with people with cancer for over 20 years, it just makes so much sense to me. I mean, if it was me and my diagnosis, that's what I would do 100%.
Yeah.
You know, the problem with chemotherapy came out of World War II as mustard gas. So it's a poison.
Yeah.
And it kills cancer cells, but it also kills the immune system. It kills the T cells. It kills the natural killer cells. So that's why the majority of the time the cancer comes back, because the immune system's been ruined. And it doesn't really kill all the cancer cells, especially the cancer stem cells. And so they come back to life eventually, and they form another tumor somewhere else. So chemotherapy I saw it firsthand. I mean, if it was a effective tool, I would still have the love for Margo Foundation, and I'd still be giving these financial grants to these women because the treatment's working. You know, the theory was that they don't have money to begin with. Now they're sick and they can't work. Their expenses have gone up because of their disease. So we would just fill in and support them for 5 months while they went through treatment and could go back to work. That worked one time.
Wow. So out of all of those women.
Yeah, where it really worked perfectly, okay? Because, you know, where the disease was in remission, this was a 20-year Delta ticket agent in San Francisco airport. And so it worked perfectly, just the way it was supposed to. But the majority of the time, they get sicker and sicker and die. And it was just, I felt like I was throwing money away, I was throwing time away, I was throwing energy away. And so that's why I came here to build this.
There's so many people now are getting cancer.
Oh.
And it's such an intense subject matter. And it's very amazing what you're doing and how long you've been doing it. Talking about the different treatments, you know, natural killer cells, ayahuasca, psilocybin, stem cells.
Stem cells?
Yeah.
So stem cells. So let's talk about those.
Yeah.
So the National University, again, of Colombia has been growing stem cells for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what comes with a stem cell is an exosome. So for every stem cell, you get 1,000 exosomes.
Mm-hmm.
Stem cells that we get come from the umbilical cord of a baby. So they're brand new. The first cell that the body creates when the sperm hits the egg is a stem cell. So every cell in the body originated as a stem cell. And the beauty of stem cells, and exosomes too, exosomes are a protein that will go in there and identify where the stem cell should go in the body to reduce inflammation or to repair an injury. And so, and the beautiful thing about a stem cell, it can become another kind of cell. It can become a ligament cell. It can become a kidney cell. It can become a heart cell. So stem cells are super, super powerful. We have stem cells in our body. I have stem cells in my body right now, but I'm 68 years old. So the stem cells have been greatly diminished, you know, and so we run out of them, or they aren't as effective. And so they can't heal the body like they used to. So that's the beautiful thing about these MSC stem cells. Again, it's not approved for use in the U.S., but it is approved in a bunch of other countries, especially Mexico. Colombia. And so people are having, you know, it's great for knees and shoulders.
Yeah.
I use it for anti-aging. It's also good for some autoimmune diseases, MS, Parkinson's. So, but there's not enough clinical trials going on. And so it, you know, and for anti-aging, for example, it could be somewhat subjective. I take 150 million stem cells, 15 billion exosomes. Do I feel better? Yeah, but how do you quantify?
How do you quantify it? Yeah.
But I do know the science behind it, and I do know it's working to help reduce the inflammation and heal my body.
Yeah. So when someone comes, how do you assess whether they're a candidate for the NK cells, the stem cells, or ayahuasca? Because ayahuasca is also very healing as well.
So I rely on the doctors for all that. We have 3 doctors here. But typically, you know, the NK cells are for autoimmune diseases and for cancer is the most applicable thing.
Yeah.
I do those for prevention as well. And we've had a lot of people come and do those for prevention as well.
Yeah.
Anytime you can increase your immune system by 400%, I mean, it's not only killing cancer cells, it's going to gobble up parasites and bacteria that doesn't belong there, viruses that don't belong there. It's going to get anything that's foreign to the body out of it. And the real issue with us is that we're so toxic. So I have a friend, he's been detoxing religiously for 7, 8 years. I mean, like, he teaches it. He has a course. I mean, he's profound. And he just did a procedure in I think Germany or Sweden, and where they take out 75% of his blood and they filter it out. So here's a guy that lives,
75.
does everything, and in the filtration, glyphosate,
Yeah.
heavy metals. Okay, so because these toxics, and we're full of plastic.
Yeah.
We got to quit drinking this plastic water out of these plastic bottles. They say that a lot of Americans take in a credit card worth of plastic every week. So, and that stuff's hard to get out, and it gets into the organs, and it just disrupts everything. So the more detox we can do through food, through colonics, through massage, through methylene blue, I mean, so many things that we do here to help to detox the body. We raise our energy. Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, it's energy, vibration, and frequency. We could look at all of our cells under a microscope. They're all vibrating at a certain frequency resonance. This is how they communicate. And they communicate through light as well. They're electrical. We're a battery. Our cell's a battery. Really, there's people that don't eat, and I don't eat much. And there's people that don't eat all, called breatharians. And because their mitochondria is so healthy, their body's so healthy, they don't need food. They're just living off the energy of the sun, the frequency of the earth, and water.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, especially something like coconut water, where we can get some fat in there too, and then we just charge this battery. And we have 50 trillion little batteries.
Yeah.
And we're made of atoms. And
Yeah.
atoms are super powerful. So once we understand all that, how powerful we are, and we can step away, and that's the body. How do I take care of the body, the vessel for my soul? And then everything starts to work better.
Yeah. And I love the doctors here too. I've been spending a lot of time talking with them and like picking their brain. And my favorite thing to do, just working with so many different people in this space. And yeah, I really love how they just deeply understand the different parts. Like she's an MD, and she said to me, like, what's happening in your stomach, because I'm dealing with health issues, as I told you. She was like, it's fear. I was sitting there thinking, like, how amazing is this that she's an MD and she's walking me through a meditation, trying to remove the fear in my body.
Yeah.
And energy healing, putting her hands, like, I was just like, this is the real deal. And also, there's a lot we can learn from the Colombian people. You touched on it before. This is why I spend so much time here. Like, Colombians in general, their culture, they've been through so much as a culture, and yet they're so light and airy and vibrant. And their medical care here, for me, I continue to come back for my medical care because they're so compassionate.
Yes.
I was crying yesterday, and I was just like, I'm so in this work. Like, I'm such a champion for these services. Like, why is this, I was falling into victim mode. And she was just like, breathe, like you're putting so much pressure on yourself. Like, just like, I'm just
chill
in all of them. Yeah, I really am. And just, I think that's a big part of the magic here is the culture and the staff. And,
And it's having a profound effect on me as an American. I'm coming in here with my Western values, my sense of urgency, and it's really gotten me to step back. And guess what happened once I step back and relax? I get out of fight or flight. And now all of a sudden, everything slows down. My days are more full and richer. I'm more present, and I can be more effective in my work. So as individually, we raise our personal consciousness to one of vitality and love and service. Then the collective starts to pick up on that.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is that we have to realize that we're all connected.
Yeah.
If you're suffering, I'm suffering on some level. And allegedly, there's 8 billion of us here on planet Earth today. And so if 4 billion of us would lift up someone less fortunate and just help them a little bit, the entire consciousness of this world would change. All of that corruptness would disappear, and we'd usher heaven back on the earth.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to realize. I mean, we have these stupid wars, Israel, Gaza, Russia, Ukraine, and the Saudis and the Houthis. I mean, it drives me crazy, right? Millions of people have died in this Ukraine war for what? When I was growing up, the Vietnam War was huge, right? 56,000, I think, U.S. soldiers died in that. Well, guess what? For the last 15 years, my business manager has been a Vietnamese woman. Okay, so it's not the people, okay? No. It's these governments that it's the military-industrial complex that wants his money that puts us in these wars. This is what we have to stop. We have to stop this unnecessary suffering.
Yeah, and I think we are definitely going through like a great awakening. I
For
mean,
sure.
I can feel it, and I see people who I never would thought start to like wake up from that collective slumber. And I think service is such a big part of it. I told you yesterday, like when I started this, there was no like, what's the revenue goal? Like, what's the ROI? It was like, this just became very clear. Like, this is what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
And the powers that be will take care of me in whatever way. And every single time I want to have a conversation or, have a partnership with somebody, it's like solely because I see what they're doing is similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Listen, I was programmed to chase all this material success.
Yeah.
And I became very wealthy with expensive houses and expensive cars and expensive jewelry. And it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Okay. We're chasing after the wrong stuff. And now everybody's chasing their 15 minutes of fame, right?
Yes.
And so we're becoming somewhat narcissistic,
Yeah.
and we're losing touch with our soul. And so that's why we need to love and serve one another. And by doing that, and we get out of ourselves, guess what? We have no more problems.
Yeah.
You start helping someone less fortunate, you forget all about yourself and your worries, and you become free, and you you start healing because
Yeah.
you're out of the way.
Yeah. And I think, in talking about all these modalities, what they can do, plant medicine, I do believe for certain people can really facilitate and really, I would say like rapidly facilitate this process of getting into the heart. And the older generations, like, I feel like they really went through a lot. It's like they were in survival mode. And so we are children of that. So there's so much healing that we're doing. Like, no wonder it feels like such a big mission.
Yes, but guess what? You can stop the suffering anytime you want.
Yeah.
Okay. You just got to change the story.
Yeah.
Okay. And find the silver lining in the story. I mean, in my wife's death, it was devastating, right? But so much good has come out of this.
Yeah.
I know she's in a much better place. I'm in a much better place. And so it's just something that we had to go through. And some people teach, and perhaps it's accurate, that we chose this experience.
Yeah.
And that this is a school, and that we come here to learn certain things. Frankly, I've had a very rich life, and I've had a very painful life, and that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
One of my favorite books way back when was The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck, and the opening line of the book is "Life is difficult." Well, guess what? That's not what the motivational speakers want to teach you. That's what the new age community wants to teach you. Okay, but it's not just all light and love.
Yeah.
Okay, life is freaking hard.
Yeah.
Babies are born and babies die. Okay, little kids are getting cancer. Okay, these are difficult situations, and so we can't hide from that, but we have to not run from that. We have to embrace the difficulty. I'll never forget this. We were getting ready to do an ayahuasca ceremony here. 6-7 years ago. And I was helping this young kid, he's 25 years old at the time, but anyways. And so I was kind of mentoring him, and his father, bless you, bless you, his father was coming to the ceremony, and the kid's name was Sam, and it was a very stormy night. And I said, Sam, how'd you get up here? I rode my motorcycle, which is very dangerous, right? And so I said, hey, maybe I can help you get a car. And so then his dad walked into the room. I said, hey, just talking to Sam about how dangerous a motorcycle is. And the father looked at me and says, life is dangerous. And as Americans, we don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
We look at it that like life is supposed to be easy,
Yeah.
and we're supposed to get everything we want, and there shouldn't be any problems.
Yeah.
But here in Colombia, because of, as you mentioned earlier, everything they've gone through, that they don't look at life like that. That's why they appreciate the simple things.
Yeah.
Because they have been through hell. And in America, we've been spoiled. We take our wars offshore.
Yeah.
What we've done to some of these countries is just insane.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're spoiled in America because no one's invaded our shores, and we haven't gone through that. Now we have a whole bunch of other problems, and that's really the medical situation in that country, and the health of the people in that country,
Yeah.
and the debt of that country.
Yeah.
So America was the greatest empire, but it's falling. And so what's going to happen when it collapses?
Yeah.
So that's what we have to prepare ourselves for.
Yeah. Definitely. I think, like, what is the saying?
Every great empire is fallen. Okay,
Yeah,
from the Roman to the
Yeah,
Persian,
that.
to the Mongolian. I mean, they've all fallen.
Yeah, I know. We're definitely preparing for that, I think.
Because we have a government that doesn't serve the people.
Yeah.
You know, they keep spending more money than we bring in. We can't do that. You can't do that. I can't do that. But they continually do that. And then they abuse other countries if they say, hey, we don't want to play in the dollar world anymore. We're going to go to another currency because there's too much debt and we don't trust you guys anymore. And you put sanctions on people you don't like.
Yeah.
And you take their stuff. Okay, and the rest of the countries are going, whoa, 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 let's create another. This is not working for us anymore.
Yeah.
And so we've done this to ourselves, or our leaders have, but we allowed it. There's no protesting going on. We should be protesting every day about the debt and the spending in that country and how much homelessness there is.
Yeah.
We send all these funds to Ukraine and everywhere else in the world, and our own citizens are suffering and dying. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's why I like having here as like a second home, because I just like need to get out sometimes and be here for sure. Like in some ways, I feel like we've made so much progress with the traditional medicine doctors acknowledging trauma and toxins, but some of them I speak with, and they really just don't believe that emotions and trauma can manifest into that much.
Yeah.
So that it becomes a disease. And, you know, it's like, I feel like part of my path has become like helping people to utilize the traditional medicine system for what it's really great at. Even for me, with dealing with all my stomach and gut issues this year, it's like I was able to start ruling out like, okay, it's not cancer. It's not, you know, something structural, but also like, we don't really know beyond here. We can give you a couple medications. So again, taking that information and going to the functionals. But if you don't have someone doing that for you, if you don't know, then you can get lost in that system.
Yeah. You get into the system and they put you on medications to treat the symptoms.
Yeah.
Okay, Pfizer, I don't know how many years, decades they've been in business, but a lot. They've never cured one disease. Okay. And they're not looking to cure disease. They're looking for treatments to treat symptoms of disease. Where here we have functional medicine. And so they're looking for the source of the problem, what is causing this.
Yeah.
And let's fix that,
Yeah.
and then the disease will go away.
So lately I've been also like, how can we honor doctors for what they know, what they do, and also see the limitations of the system, and see that there are also people in the holistic world that are looking for.
Yeah. You have to look at the history of how allopathic medicine and how it came to be.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good things about Western medicine. Okay.
Yes.
If I'm in an automobile accident, okay, I want to go to a Western medicine trained doctor in a Western hospital.
Yeah.
I just had a heart ablation. I did some damage to my heart, and it probably started with my environment, my way of living. And then we fixed a large part of it, and then we had to do this medical procedure called an ablation. And the first one didn't work. And what I love about Colombia, I mean, they're so good. And so he goes, Mike, I got 90% of it, but I want to do it again, but I want to bring in another doctor. So I had two doctors, each, they go through your groin and they take equipment up to your heart. So each side of my groin, one doctor on each side, they go into the heart. And for 4 hours, they were burning stuff in my heart to get the electricity working again properly, right? And my energy's gone through the roof. So you can't throw out all of Western medicine.
Yeah.
And indigenous ayahuasca is not for everybody.
No.
You know, the majority of people have a profound experience, but some people have a terrible experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to be very careful with what we're dealing with.
Yes.
We have to be our own advocate. We have to go within. The problem is we have these two eyes looking out all day long. And the work needs to go on in here. We need to close these. We need to go inside. We need to feel our body. We need to be able to locate certain parts of our body. We need to be able to breathe into certain parts of our body. And we have a light body. We have this etheric body. And we're a channel. You know, when a baby's born, the scalp is very, very soft because that's where the soul came through. And this is where the soul's going to leave. Okay. Yeah. So we have to understand we have this energy system, this chakra system. Mm-hmm. And when we get that vibrating, we get those plates vibrating, spinning at the right frequency with the right mindset, with a pure heart full of gratitude, love, and joy and compassion, we can heal.
Yeah.
But most people walk around with fear.
Yeah.
And the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
And so they're believing shit that's not even true, that's making them sick, or they're walking around with resentment for
Yeah.
somebody that screwed them over, or anger,
Yeah.
and or sadness.
Yeah.
And you know, you're not going to heal at that. You're going to vibrate such a low frequency. The energy of the body, the physical 3D energy and the light energy is not going to be able to vibrate high enough.
Yeah. And I think for some people, the fear, like as we said, it's so ingrained. I've gotten to have a lot of compassion for myself because even being in this work, I've been in therapy since I'm 6 years old. And I've been on this path with the medicines and holistic health for 4 years, almost 5. And I get frustrated with how much fear I still live in. You know, one symptom, like dealing with this health issue, it's like, I'm dying. It's just this natural instinct. And I think for what I've been talking about a lot lately with people is if they do have that tendency more than other people, it's not their fault, but it's also our responsibility. And there is things that we can do to change that system, but also to have compassion sometimes, because it can be really overwhelming to compare yourself to other people that don't struggle as much.
Let me tell you how the mind works. I wake up the other morning, my leg hurts. I go, wow, what's wrong with my leg? Fuck, it's probably cancer. Fuck, they're going to cut off my leg. Oh shit, I'm not going to be able to work. I'm not going to be able to work. I'm going to lose my house. I haven't been awake 1 minute. Okay. I've lost my leg. I've lost my job and I'm homeless. Okay. This is how the mind wants to work, right?
Yeah.
But if we live here, we ignore all that nonsense. Okay. Who's in charge of what thoughts are allowed to stay here?
Yeah.
We are. Okay. Not the body we, but the spiritual we, the soul we, right? But the other thing is I need to embrace my body and feel my body and be an embodiment and be grounded to earth. You know, I see a lot of people, it happened to me after my wife died. I was just this big, broken-hearted guy with a mission, but I wasn't grounded to the earth.
Yeah.
And because of that, I really made a lot of mistakes. So we need to slow down. We need to breathe. We need to get coaches or mentors, whether it's through books or YouTube videos or live and in person, whatever it is. And we need to realize that we came here for a purpose. We need to find our purpose and fulfill it and go.
Yeah.
And we're gone. There is no such thing as death. We talked a little bit about this yesterday, right?
Yes, I love
so
this.
you just can't die. It's
Yeah.
your energy, and energy can't be destroyed nor created. And so the illusion is we are this body. Well, where's your 10-year-old body? Where's your 20-year-old body? Okay. These are cells that are dying and being born every second of every minute, and trillions of them. Okay. And so we have to realize this isn't me. These crazy thoughts sure aren't me. So I'm here and I'm connected to source, the creator, whoever made all this, right? Whatever that is. Okay. There's a power there. There's an energy there. And when I can tap into it, I can heal, I can become complete, and I can do better.
Yeah. That's such a good point. What would you say to someone who hears us talking about, like, yeah, illness is my greatest teacher. Okay. Like, I'm in the shit. I am so not in that wavelength and I'm in pain and I'm struggling. What do you tell people when they are in that mindset?
Well, that's the work. You know, we have to go in there and say, okay, where did this belief system come from? Okay. And how did it get reinforced? And do you see what it's doing to you? Do you see how it's affecting your life? You know, so this is the unraveling of the subconscious mind in the childhood program.
Yeah.
I can show you a picture. It's in my other office. Is me. I'm 9 months old. It's 1957, Los Angeles, California. I'm sitting on a couch. I have a cigarette dangling out of my mouth, and I have a beer bottle between my legs. And on the Polaroid that my mother had taken, she wrote, "Learning young, just like mommy and daddy." So I was programmed to be a drinker, a smoker, a gambler, a womanizer, all these things. That was my programming. So I became all those things, okay, until it just didn't work any longer. And there was too much pain with that.
Yeah.
And so I was fortunate enough to meet someone that taught me a better way, a different way. And I embraced that. And my teacher's always been books. That's why I wanted to write books, because without books, I never would have survived.
Yeah.
They what kept me going. And I'm not perfect. I got all the same problems everybody else has. Okay.
Yeah.
I make more mistakes than just about anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. But here's the thing. we can't ever give up. This project here, Mount Hope, has been the hardest thing in my life. I've probably quit 1,000 times, but I've never given up.
Yeah.
And so out of frustration, I'll say, screw this. And, 5 minutes later, okay, we're back on the intention, right? But that's the way life is. And that's okay. We can't be attached to our story, and we can't be attached to our outcome. We don't know. I don't know where this life's taking me. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. I know I'm one meeting away. I'm one book away. I'm one conversation away from everything changing. Okay. And that's the thing. People hate change.
Yeah.
And that's the only constant.
Yeah.
Everything is changing every second of every minute of every hour.
Yeah.
And we need to embrace change and take control of our reality.
Yeah.
And realize that we're the creator of our reality with our thoughts and our emotions.
So true. The woman I interviewed before you, her name was Asha. She's like a world-renowned spiritual teacher for Yogananda. And she was talking about, the whole interview was about death, because I'm really fascinated by death and scared of it, but in process, especially after our conversation last night. And Asha said, how you die is exactly the same process of how you allow change in your life. So if you're someone who kicks and screams their way through change, you're going to kick and scream your way through the death process.
Yeah.
If you're someone who gets excited about change, you are looking forward to it, you flow with it, you're going to have a beautiful death process.
Yeah. I mean, don't you think that butterfly is excited about becoming the butterfly?
Yeah.
When it's in the cocoon?
Yeah.
And it was a caterpillar?
Yeah.
Of course. I could tell you, I'm not going to take the time right now, but I can tell you later. So many experiences that I've had since my wife left her body. So many experiences I've had leaving my body to be with her where she is. Okay. So there's so much more to this.
Yeah.
Okay. And we are programmed to be part of the system, and we need to break free of the system and realize that who we really are these powerful creators connected to source that came here to do something wonderful, and that we can never die. We came into this body, we'll leave this body, we may or may not come back to this frequency, this 3D reality. We might go to a higher frequency, which I believe that the frequency that I went to is that we're in an animal body. We urinate, we fornicate, we defecate. Okay, but we're a soul, we're a spirit. Okay, where I went to, it's light bodies. So the body's just pure light, pure energy. Okay, none of that other stuff. And more importantly, is that they communicate telepathically. So if you can read my mind, I can read your mind. We can't screw each other. Okay, so imagine how pure that is. And so I think that's the next frequency up. This to me is like a one big video game.
Yeah. Earth School.
Yeah.
Dolores Cannon used to call it.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so I imagine there's some guy up there, playing me as the video game. I'm their avatar, right? Yeah. Okay. Let's see what he does with this situation.
Yeah.
Let's see what he does with this thought. I also believe that I have angels and guides, and that there's people here to help me. And whether it's true or not doesn't matter. The fact that I believe it brings me so much peace and comfort. And isn't that what we want? Peace and comfort? So you can believe anything you want. Well, I read a great book by Deepak Chopra around death. And he said that whatever you believe death is going to be, the afterlife experience, that's going to be. Yeah. Which kind of makes sense with manifestation, law of attraction. So I see this just this wonderful, beautiful experience where all my loved ones are going to be there, and I'm going to be free. And there's many books of soul schools in between lives where people have been regressed through hypnosis and talk about what that's like. So who the hell knows?
Yeah. Okay. No one here knows.
Okay. But what I do know is that we've been lied to, and we've been brainwashed, and we've been programmed, and there's so much more to us. And we just need to always tap into that. And when it gets hard, and when we get sad, when we fail, when we get depressed, go through that. It's not going to kill you. Go through those emotions and come back to the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this book that you wrote, Living in Color, I read a little bit of it last night, which was amazing. And so tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, so this is my third book I published. My best-selling book is called The Creation Frequency, which is a unique way to use the law of attraction. But I started writing this book in 2011. After my wife passed, while she was still alive, she wanted a new house, so I bought her a new house, and I got the keys the day of her memorial service. So, anyways, I had to pack up everything about us, and I was so emotionally distraught. I had my kids put it in boxes, and then I would write on it, "Open soon, I hope." So all of her journals, all of our pictures, all of our life together was in these plastic boxes, and then I put them in the garage in the new house, and I put a padlock on it. I go, might be years before I can stomach this again. And so I'm sitting in this house alone by myself. A month after she's gone, I go, no, I have to write this story. She was the most amazing person, the most amazing woman that I have to honor her by telling the story of how she changed my life and how I really believe that in a weird kind of funny way, she came here to die for me so I could find myself.
Yeah.
And that's love. And so it's a love story, but it really starts with December 1st, 2010. The oncologist said, Margo, unfortunately, the cancer spread to the lining of your brain. If you do nothing, you have 6 weeks to live. If you treat it, you have 6 months to live. Now imagine being 37 years old and hearing those words after fighting this for 8 years at that time. And so this book chronicles those last 6 months, which was amazing because she did a lot of journaling. We had a website with people praying for her all over the world.
Wow.
The website was called Send Margo Love. And so she did a lot of journaling, but then I found her journals from 12 to 38. So we got to get the richness of this person that loved life so much that she went through living hell every day to live another day. And I'm grateful for every day that she did. But every night she prepared to take that last breath by listening to books about souls and this kind of thing, and having people come and teach us what she was going to go through, what would happen after that last breath, what she would see, what she would experience. Everybody came and said goodbye to her while she was still living. That takes enormous courage. Okay, most people can't do that, but it was so fulfilling, so rich. So when she did take her last breath, believe me, there was nothing but love there. There was no fear. There was preparation, and it was beautiful. I mean, if you can say a death was beautiful, it was painful as hell.
Yeah.
Okay, I always say dying is easy, and being left behind is the son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was difficult for her, to leave her loved ones and to see us suffer.
Wow.
But that's part of life.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'll absolutely link all of your books to anyone who's listening. And where can people find you? What's the website for Mountains of Hope?
Yeah, so it's just mountains-of-hope.com. Book a consultation. Either I'll take the call or one of our doctors will take the call. And if you're a good fit, we're not in this for money. If you're a good fit and we think we can help you, then we'll tell you how much it costs and what it entails. But I know one thing, we're cheaper than anybody else doing this work, but it's still expensive because there's no insurance. And that's the unfortunate part. You have to, and people aren't used to paying for their health care.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge.
Yeah, I deal with that a lot with that conversation, helping people understand. I'm kind of like the bridge into this world of helping people understand that. And so, as always, for any support and any information, for anything in holistic health, whether you're dealing with mental health, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, yourconsciousconcierge.com or @yourconsciousconcierge on Instagram. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.